Okay, a couple of more trig ideas. There are three other ratios besides sine, cosine, and tangent. All right. We just briefly are going to introduce these. They're really pretty easy. Um, but I've got them listed out for you right here. So you may want to, write this down or screenshot this or something. But we know these three: sine, and that's theta. Theta is just a Greek letter that represents an angle. Sine of some angle is always the opposite over hypotenuse, right? Adjacent over hypotenuse, opposite over adjacent. So what we can do is do the reciprocal. We know what that means. We flip things upside down. So there's this other one out here called the this one might make more sense to you first. The secant. If I wrote that out, it's secant. It's the secant ratio. It's just the reciprocal of this one. So it's the hypotenuse over adjacent. And so this one up here is called the cosecant. Cosecant, and we abbreviate it CSC, the cosecant ratio, and it's the reciprocal of that one flipped upside down. And this one is the cotangent. All right, cotangent. So we flip this one upside down. So that's pretty straightforward the way that works. All right, I'll write this one out. Cotangent. Okay, so how do we do a problem? Here's some that are like over there on your quiz. Find the, let's do this other one first right here. Let's do one like this. It says find all these ratios, or whichever one you might be given. So if I'm looking at this from angle A's point of view, I know how to do the sine of A. The sine of A would be opposite over hypotenuse, would be 6 over 10. Okay, and then I reduce that to 3 over 5. So that means the cosecant of A would be the reciprocal of this. It'd just be 5 over 3. I'm done. You don't have to do anything. Okay, that's your answer. All right, the cosine of A will be adjacent over hypotenuse, 8 over 10, which reduces here. But that means the secant, because these two are the reciprocal of each other, the secant would be this flipped upside down. All right, so you just got to remember which ones are reciprocals of which ones. It's easy to remember the tangent and cotangent. They're reciprocals of each other. So the answer here was 3/4, but then the cotangent would be 4/3. All right. But sine and cosecant are reciprocals of each other, and cosine and secant are reciprocals of each other. Okay, let's do some more. What if we looked at the other angle's point of view? Sine of B. Okay, so we could do this. All right. Or maybe the problem is find the cosecant of B. Well, what I would do is I would start by finding the sine of B because I know they're the reciprocal of each other. The sine of B would be opposite over hypotenuse. It'd be 8 over 10. And then that reduces to 4/5. So I know the answer to this one is going to be 5/4. It's the reciprocal. Okay. The cosine of B, well, the problem is probably going to ask you, what's the secant of B? Well, the secant is going to be this one flipped upside down. So the cosine of B would be 6 over 10, which is 3 over 5. So this one over here is going to be 5 over 3. Done. All right. The tangent of B would be 8 over 6, which would be 4/3. So the cotangent of B would be 3/4. Done. All right. So that's what those are. Those are called reciprocal functions. They will mean something a little bit bigger if you go into some higher maths, but right now we're just kind of getting to the idea of knowing that they are the reciprocals of each other. And something you'll notice, and you probably have already noticed this anyway, like the sine of A, the sine from this angle is 3/5. Well, that's the same thing as the cosine from the other angle. If I do the cosine from B, it's also 3/5. And so they have these complementary functions like sine and cosine are complementary to each other. That's what the co actually stands for, complementary sine. Complementary tangent, complementary secant. That's what those mean. They mean complementary because I can do from this angle, right, from the sine from this angle is the same as the cosine from that one. Or the cosine from this angle is the same as the sine from that one. They just, when you change your angle's point of views, it switches the opposite and the adjacent. Okay, but the hypotenuse is always locked in. So something else you ought to be able to do is just do this in your calculator. All right, find the cosecant of 25. And by the way, if some of you are using Google, all right, let me show you something here. If you just type in cosecant 25 like this, all right, it's going to give you this answer right here. And notice right here it says radians. Don't, this is wrong. We're not using radians. That's, again, a higher level trig idea. Okay, we might introduce that at the end, but all of our problems are going to be worked in degrees. So when you type this in, you actually need to type in degrees so that this calculator does degrees. All right. So if I did cosecant of 25, now how would you do that? How would you do that back on one of these? Okay, because you can't type that in. All right. You just have to remember though, the cosecant of 25 is the reciprocal of this. So what you're going to do is type in sine of 25 and get that number, and then you're going to flip it upside down. So what I really, because this is over 1, so what I really want to know is what is 1 divided by that. So you could type it in if you wanted to. 1 divided by that. 1 divided by that answer is 2.36. That's what we saw a while ago. Now there is a little button right here to help you do things to make things flip upside down, and that's this x to the negative 1 button. You want to flip that upside down, it'll take it right back. Just put that over 1, or if I want that to be 1 divided by that, I do this. It divides, it makes a reciprocal. That's the reciprocal button. Okay, so if I was going to do this, secant of 50, well, I would know that's the cosine that goes with it. So I would do cosine of 50, and then I would do my flip it upside down, and I knew that my answer would be 1.55. Done. Okay. Cotangent of 33. Well, I would just do tangent of 33 and then flip it upside down. Reciprocal will be 1.54 if you want to call it that. It's really that simple. Okay. If it says this, I think one of your quizzes says to do this, or it says to just find that in your calculator. That's how you do it in your calculator. All right. You got this. You can do it.